Good morning. Lesson 4-2. Today we're going to be talking about opposites and absolute value. Opposites we mentioned just briefly in the last lesson. So example 2, its opposite is -2. What would the opposite of -3 be? 3. All it means is the number that is the same distance away from 0 on the other side. The way your book is going to show the notation, this means the opposite of a positive integer is indicated by using the notation this, okay, where the integer is written inside the parentheses and the opposite of it would be putting a negative in front. If your integer were -2, the opposite would be putting a negative in front, right? So this means -2 and this means +2. If you think of these negatives sort of canceling each other out, when there's even numbers of negatives, you'll have a positive. Okay, so that's what that's talking about. Let's talk about this one down here. The negative of -4. Okay, so if you have -4 and then you have the negative of that equals, that's right, 4. So this part here is worth 4, and then we have a negative in front of that, and then that is worth -4. Okay, and notice we had 3 negatives, 1, 2, 3, and our answer was negative. Odd number of negatives, gonna be negative. So that's opposites. Like if I asked you, what's the opposite of -57? It would be 57, okay? So let's practice this a little bit. Graph -5 on the number line. Its opposite would be 5 in the positive. Okay? So the opposite of -5 is 5. Seem okay? Okay, let's do example 2. Asia and Latoya are building a sandcastle and digging a moat around the sandcastle. They would like the moat to be as deep as the sandcastle is tall, and the sandcastle is 17 inches tall. So what is the opposite of 17? That's right, -17. That's how deep, inches, their little sandcastle's moat needs to be. Okay? Here we have the opposite of -3. Well, the opposite of -3 is 3. The opposite of -3 is 3. And then we have the opposite of that, which is -3. So let's practice here. What's the opposite of -11? That's right, 11. And then we have a negative in front of that, and then we're done because there's nothing else in front of that. Okay, that's opposites. Now, absolute values are very similar to opposites, but we have a slightly different notation. The absolute value of something is written with these 2 vertical lines on either side of the number. An absolute value only means your distance from 0. Distance from 0, okay? So how far is 4 away from 0? 4. How far is -4 from 0? 4. The answer to your absolute values should always be positive. All right, let's see if we can practice that real quick. How many feet did the cave explorer travel? Well, the cave explorer started at sea level and descended a cave. Her location in relationship to her starting point can be represented by -150 feet. So in this question, how many feet did the cave explorer travel? They're not asking for you to represent it as a negative. They just want to know how many feet in total. And that's why it's the absolute value of -150. And the absolute value of -150 is 150 because it's 150 units from 0. The absolute value of -150 is 150. Okay, so let's talk about Yixi. She dropped a coin into a wishing well. If we drop something, I like a vertical number line for that, right? So if here's the well, that should be at 0. And she dropped a coin into the wishing well. The top of the well can be represented by 0 feet. The location of the coin can be represented by -32 feet. How many feet did the coin fall? Well, how far is it from 0 to -32? The absolute value of -32 is 32. In this case, we're talking about feet. Okay? Good luck.